Lately, there's been much discussion about Chinese cars entering Western markets. Some think they're dominating, while others say it's exaggerated. So, are Chinese cars really invading the West? Well, let's take a closer look at the reality behind this supposed invasion. It's true that Chinese automakers have been expanding their presence globally in recent years. Brands like Geely, B.Y.D, and NIO are making a name for themselves in the industry. Their competitive pricing strategies, coupled with their reputation for high-quality design and performance, suggest that they may be on the brink of securing a significant portion of the global automotive market outside of China. But is this impending wave of Chinese dominance truly materializing? Is it a legitimate threat to the long-standing car manufacturers in Europe and the United States? In this video, we aim to provide an in-depth analysis of why the Chinese car industry represents a substantial competitive force. Furthermore, we will explore the factors contributing to this situation, emphasizing that both the United States and, to an even greater extent, Europe bear responsibility for their own predicament. Before diving into specifics, let us ask the question: what defines a car as Chinese? For quite some time now, China has emerged as a significant exporter of automobiles, leveraging its vast production capabilities and comparatively lower labor costs. Interestingly, a large portion of the cars we see on roads in the United States and Europe originate from China. Well-known brands like BMW, Audi, Mercedes, Volkswagen, Volvo, Smart, Polestar, Dacia, Tesla, Buick, Chevrolet, Lincoln, and Lotus, all recognized American and European brands, have their car manufactured in China before being shipped to their respective home markets. So circling back to the initial question, what truly constitutes a Chinese car? The answer lies in your perspective. There's no definitive right or wrong response, but what remains undeniable is China's ascendance as a major player in this arena. With the Chinese car industry steadily expanding, if one perceives these European and American brands as essentially Chinese, then the notion of whether China will become the world's largest car producer is moot. It already holds that title. China stands tall as the foremost car exporter globally, surpassing even Japan in this regard. Additionally, Chinese domestic automakers are beginning to outpace Western counterparts, marking a significant victory for China's domestic industrial policies and suggesting a potential shift away from decades-long dominance by Western automakers. China's notable emphasis on electric vehicles since 2009 has propelled it from a global follower to a global leader in the industry. Notably, Tesla remains somewhat popular in China. However, post-2017, numerous Western companies began to retreat from China due to their models' underperformance in the country. And now, they actually find themselves too late to re-enter the Chinese market competitively. There's now a palpable effort to catch up. If they want to re-enter China successfully, they should learn from China's evolving trends. Just as China once learned from the West, they can't afford to be complacent. It's crucial to adapt and be resilient. Otherwise, the outcome is straightforward. Europe or the United States, it is time to step aside because China presents a superior proposition. On the other side, if you're among those who still regard European and American brands produced in China as authentically European or American, consider yourself fortunate. Present-day circumstances suggest that the group of purely Chinese brands hasn't become significant players in the European market yet. Some are even entirely absent from the United States. Brands such as Chang'an, BYD, MG, Haval, NIO, Hongqi, and many others may be completely unfamiliar to you, yet they collectively comprise a substantial market of approximately 28 million units annually in China. Particularly in Europe, their relative obscurity is changing rapidly. Take, for instance, the brand MG, which is steadily gaining traction in the electric vehicle segment. MG's success is due not only to its attractive cars, but also to its use of its British heritage to connect with Western consumers. Although MG designs and manufactures all its vehicles in China, it positions itself as a British-made brand. This approach likely contributes to its stronger presence in markets like Europe compared to its Chinese counterparts. Similarly, brands like Lynk Co., Polestar, and Hongqi are also making strides in the Western market. Research indicates that many European brands, such as Volvo, BMW, and Audi, have become too costly for the average European consumer, while Japanese and Korean brands lack the wow factor. Simply put, we cannot ignore the fact anymore that Chinese cars are doing really well. Their pricing is good, their stylish designs are good, and many Chinese brands have a carload of features as standard equipped in their models, when the majority of these features are optional and at an additional charge with European brands. In all, very good incentives to attract new customers. This widespread enthusiasm highlights how Chinese automakers are gaining the favor of drivers as they significantly penetrate Europe's car industry, especially the electric car market. China's rise presents a major challenge to well-established European brands in an industry vital to the continent's transition to sustainable energy. The rapid rise of Chinese electric cars is sparking concerns within Europe's automotive industry, a vital economic sector predominantly situated in France and Germany, employing millions of workers. As the industry transitions from fossil fuels to electricity, it faces increasing pressure to remain competitive. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen highlights the influx of inexpensive Chinese electric cars flooding global markets, attributing their low prices to substantial state subsidies. Indeed, China has implemented various subsidies since the initiation of its Made in China's initiative in 2014, often flouting international trade regulations by favoring its own carmakers. The exact value of these subsidies ranging from underpriced loans and equity injections to purchase. Subsidies and government contracts is difficult to ascertain. However, what Ursula fails to acknowledge is that Europe's own automotive industry is being displaced from the European Union due to its adherence to stringent rules and regulations, ultimately benefiting countries like China. Take, for example, the carbon tax, which the European Union, in all her wisdom, has decided to implement. This tax is a tool used to make sure that products that reflect the carbon emissions produced during their manufacturing process. The goal of the new tax is to encourage industries to invest in reducing emissions. The fact that this may lead to other forms of pollution elsewhere and negative social impacts within Europe is not a concern for Brussels. After all, a carbon tax only aims to encourage greener production practices at home. Unfortunately, if this policy will not change, it will only be a matter of time until there are no more industries left, which the European Union can tax heavily in order to pay their bills. The race for a greener world is something to be admired, but the way it is executed, most definitely not. Never mind the geopolitics. Cars are one of the most significant purchases for people, so both environmentally aware and unaware car buyers struggling with the rising cost of living praise Chinese electric cars for being affordable, yet equipped with features and stylish design. Cheaper cars mean more money to spend on other things, so concerns about the threat to local car makers and jobs just aren't a factor for them. In the United States, where electric car sales make up a smaller portion of the market compared to Europe, advocacy groups like the Alliance for American Manufacturing are urging the government to remain vigilant against the influx of Chinese products. Historically, a surge in Chinese imports has severely impacted various American industries, including solar and steel manufacturing, leading to significant job losses. Between 1997 and 2011, approximately 1 million American manufacturing workers lost their jobs due to Chinese competition. The same pattern of local economic devastation is happening in the electric car industry today. However, in all fairness, it is not entirely right to just blame the Chinese for taking over the global car industry. Chinese car executives are resisting what they perceive as inflexible Western protectionist measures. They demand fair treatment, pointing out that foreign automakers have benefited from selling their products in China's vast consumer market for years. Moreover, Western policymakers contemplating restrictions on China's involvement in their clean technology supply chains must also weigh the implications for their own ambitions of achieving net zero emissions. By hindering their own climate transitions without adequate mitigation plans, Western nations are cornering themselves and approaching a crucial point where decisions could either make or break their entire economy, not just the automotive sector. In conclusion, as Western countries are more and more focusing on decarbonizing, demand for cheap cars will rise further, and in particular electrical cars. By 2030, China could double its share of the global market, ending the dominance of the West's national champions, especially in Europe, and China builds and sells more electrical cars than the rest of the world combined. Moreover, the Chinese car makers have enough capacity to supply 75% of global demand. That should keep Western governmental officials awake at night.